Yes, good day everyone. I hope you are all doing fine. So, today we shall be looking at the circulatory system. When we talk about the circulatory system is actually the system in the body that is responsible for the movement of blood and lymph around the body. When we say system, don't forget that system is group of organs that comes together to perform specific function. So the group of organs that comes together to perform the function of moving blood or some other materials that are important in the body around the body, they are called together as the circulatory system. So the circulatory system is made up of the heart, blood vessels, the blood itself, the lymph and the lymphatic vessels and some glands. Now, it is good to remind you here, like I said the other time, that when we are considering all this, that is, as we consider all these different systems, don't forget that the main caption, the main topic is the workings of the workings of the organisms, that is how organisms work. So in this aspect, we're looking specifically to mammals and with particular reference to man. So when we are looking at the circulatory system, we're looking at the circulatory system with particular reference to man. So the circulatory system in man consists of the heart, the blood vessels, the blood itself, the lymph, some glands and the lymphatic vessels. Now the blood vessels, when we say the blood vessels include like the arteries, the veins, the capillaries. And when we talk about the lymphatic system is actually a network of nodes and vessels. Now let's briefly look at each of these organs one after the other. We're going to look at the first one that is very important, and that is the heart. The heart is actually located in a secured place in the body. It is located in between, that is in between the ribs. Don't I hope you still remember that we have done a skeletal system. So it's located in between the ribs, carefully secured there. It's carefully secured because it is important. Carefully secured there, does not move, but carefully secured at that particular place, just above, in between the ribs, just above the abdominal region. It is muscular, that is, it is made up of muscles, and it is actually enclosed in a sac. That is, there is a sac that is covering the heart, and this sac is usually referred to as the pericardium. Now, this pericardium, when you look at the pericardium is actually what we can say that is made up of is actually a wall that is made up of three layers of tissues. Now, the outer layer of the tissue or the outer tissue is referred to as epicardium. The middle is referred to as the myocardium, while the inner one is referred to as the endocardium. Now, the heart is also divided into four, maybe four compartments, what we can refer to as four chambers. The two above, that is, they are on each other. We have two above, we have two below. The two above are referred to as the auricles, while the uh, two below are referred to as the ventricles. The ones on your left hand side are referred to as the left auricle and left ventricle, while the ones on your right hand side are referred to as the right auricle and the right ventricle. I said right and I said left. That is, where your left hand is naturally located is where you have the right auricles and the right auricle and the right ventricle, while where your left hand is located is where you have the left auricle and the left ventricle. The auricles actually receive blood, that is, the blood that comes into the heart are received by the auricles, while the ventricles actually they send out blood. If you place your heart on your chest now, you will be feeling a sort of beat. That beat that is coming from your heart is as a result of the heart receiving blood and also living, and the heart also sending out blood. That beating of the heart, we call it bumping of the blood. That is, the blood bumps in and the blood bumps out. Now, in between the ventricles and in between the auricles and the ventricles, we have certain things that we refer to as valves. You see, these valves controls the flow of blood from the auricle to the ventricle. You see, these valves are like doors. When you want to enter a room from outside or from one room to the other, there's always a door that leads to it, and that door controls, the door normally controls the movement of whoever or whatever from one room to the other. So the same way, these valves, they control the movement of blood from the auricles to the ventricles. So in between the right auricle and the right ventricle, we have the valve that is referred to as tricuspid valve. This is made up of three cusps. That is why it is referred to as a tricuspid valve. Then between the left auricle and the left ventricle, we have what we refer to as a bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve is made up of two valves. So these valves, they control the movement of blood from the respective auricle to the respective ventricle. The control helps to prevent overflow of blood from the auricle down to the ventricle. Blood actually flows from right auricle to right ventricle, and from there it now moves to the lungs. It goes to the lungs to get oxygen. So that means it becomes oxygenated. So that movement of blood from the heart to the lungs is referred to as a pulmonary circulation. Then we also have a situation where, from the lungs, the blood now comes back from the lungs down to the left auricle. Now from the left auricle now to the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle it now moves down to the body. This is referred to as the systemic circulation. That is, let me recast that again for clarity. That's what I'm saying is that blood normally flows from the right auricle to the right ventricle, and now from the right ventricle it flows out to receive oxygen in the lungs, and now from the lungs it comes back it enters the heart back through the left auricle. So it now flows from the left auricle to the left ventricle. Now from the left ventricle it moves to the rest or the other parts of the body, and this is being described as a systemic circulation of blood. Now another thing that we need to understand, or another thing that we're going to look at the blood vessels. When we talk about the blood vessels are actually the passage through which blood moves in the body. Blood moves through certain designated passages. These passages actually control the movement or the spread of blood within the body. And these blood vessels, they form what we call a network of tubes. That is, you have them, they are like tubes and they form networks. And these blood vessels include the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. The arteries normally carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. We have so many arteries within the body, and these arteries, they normally carry oxygenated blood. Now we also have veins. Veins, they normally carry blood, that is, they carry deoxygenated blood away from the heart. So for example, when it carries the deoxygenated blood away from the heart, takes it to the part of the body, and another vessel will bring it back. Now the capillaries, the blood capillaries are usually one cell thick. That is, they are made up of one cell. They are not thick, they are so thin. And why is to ensure or to make possible the exchange of materials. So invariably the capillaries are responsible for exchange of materials such as gases, such as nutrients. So wherever blood has carried certain certain materials that are needed in the body to the part of the body where they are needed, there will be exchange of materials, that is between the blood and the organ where the blood has been carried to. At that point, we normally find the capillaries. Now, the next one that we're going to look at under the organs or the parts or those things that constitute the circulatory system is blood. Blood is actually a fluid and it carries essential materials. That is, things that are supposed or ought to be carried within the body, whether they are good or they are toxic substances that need to be removed from the body. So blood carries things like the oxygen, digested foods, that is food substances that have been digested will now be carried from the digestive system, then waste products in the body. These are examples of those things that they are carried, that blood carries in the body. Blood consists of what we refer to as the plasma and the different blood cells, like the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets. Now, the plasma is like the watery parts of the blood. It is inside the plasma that the blood cells are suspended. Then you have the red blood cell. The red blood cells are red in color. They are actually referred to as erythrocytes. And you see, one thing about them again is that they are amoeboid. That is, they don't have definite shape. And they are actually the one, that is, the red blood cells gives the red color to blood. Then we have white blood cells. You know, one thing again about the red blood cells is that the red blood cell has a certain pigment which made it possible to have affinity for oxygen. So whenever we breathe in, it is the red blood cells in our body that has a particular thing in the body that we refer to as hemoglobin. It's used, the red blood cell will use the hemoglobin to actually catch or attract the oxygen in the air that comes in. We also have the red blood cells. The red blood cells are, the main function of the red blood cells is that they help in fighting the foreign things that enters the body, like fighting the microorganisms in the body. So when they fight all these ones, it makes it possible to destroy microorganisms that are present in the body. Then we also have the platelets. The platelets are actually the ones that are used in blood clotting. They help to clot the blood when the blood is actually when the blood actually needs to be clotted. That is, if there is a cut, anytime you have a cut in the body, maybe on your skin or whatever, and the blood is coming out, it is important for you to know that it is the blood vessel, either the blood vessel or more than one blood vessel, that has been damaged. That tube has been damaged and blood is gushing out of the tube. Then we also have the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system includes the lymphatic vessels, the lymph nodes, and the lymphatic organs. They actually play a vital role in fluid balance. They actually perform the immune function and use also for fat absorption. So the lymphatic system, they are actually made up of the lymphatic organs, the lymph nodules, and the main function that the lymphatic system carry out is to maintain the balance of the fluid in the body, the immune function, while you have the blood cells like the red blood cell helping in carrying oxygen. One thing I also want to mention here is that the red blood cells, most of the red blood cells in the body, they have biconcave shape. Most of them have biconcave shape, while the white blood cells, you have different types, like we had the lymphocytes and some other examples. These ones, most of them, they have the amoebic nature or amoebic structure, which makes it easier for most of them to be able to engulf, that is, surround the microorganisms or the foreign bodies that enter our body, that is, that enter human body, to make it possible to destroy such microorganisms. So these are the brief things that we are going to consider on a circulatory system. You agree with me that it is each of these subtopics that we have looked at, or the organs that we have looked at, that made up, or that made up the circulatory system, they are detailed, more and more detailed than this. You can read up for more explanation, but it's of note here that it is biology in integrated science. We are considering the biological aspect of the concept in an integrated science.